This week on Generation Next, we're going to be talking about all the biggest news from Gamescom, but we're also going to be comparing Gamescom 2013 to Gamescom 2020, and per your request, we're going to be talking to our techspert to see what you should be looking out for if you're buying a new TV or monitor for PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. Or both. Hello everyone and welcome once again to Generation Next, GameSpot's weekly show all about the PS5 and Xbox Series X. I'm joined by Xbox expert Jordan Ramey.
Yo.
And PlayStation Pro Tamoor Hussain.
Absolutely writhing with anticipation for new consoles, lads.
Writhing?
Isn't that like usually painful and like not good?
Like writhing and...
No, you
can
you
writhe
can
in
make
ecstasy.
people writhe if...
Oh my god.
Alright. So, like I said up front, this week, all about Gamescom, but before we delve into that, quickly gonna go to Tam with PlayStation pre-order reservations.
Yeah, it's getting wild and wacky in the world of PlayStation because Sony hasn't told us when the PlayStation 5 is coming out. It's not told us how much it's going to cost, but it has given the opportunity for a select few who will be chosen based on weird criteria to be the first to get an opportunity to buy one. So what does that mean? They've effectively started a lottery. And on the official PlayStation 5 website or the official PlayStation.com website, they're inviting people to register for the chance to be the first to pre-order a PS5 console. So it's limited quantities will be available, and they're inviting existing consumers to be the first to pre-order. And if you click down into like the FAQ, there's a few more details in there, and it sounds like what they're doing is they're basing who they invite on interest. And people have taken that to mean, oh, it's got to be people who have loads of trophies or many hours in a video game. It's completely unclear. All you have to do is put in your PlayStation ID. So I imagine they're kind of grabbing the information from your ID and basing whether they invite you or not on that. But yeah, if you're super eager to play, you know, Spider-Man in the launch window, or as we got in the latest Gamescom presentation, Ratchet and Clank, which is now going to be available in the launch window, whenever that is, and you don't want to risk waiting for it on day one, you can take a shot at getting yourself in this lottery and maybe getting a chance to pre-order one. It's a lot of hoops to jump through for the chance to get something, but that's what they're doing.
Who's the Willy Wonka of PlayStation? Because this feels very Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
It's got to be Shuhei Yoshida. It's got to be Shuhei Yoshida, right?
I mean,
probably.
I wonder what is your golden ticket? How many platinums you have?
I mean,
I've got 4.
I don't have enough.
I've got 1. And I feel like that's a more powerful statement.
We all know what it is.
Yeah, I feel like that's a more powerful statement than people who are like, I've got 50. I've got 1. And
Well,
Well, then I'm great because I only have 1.
I was gonna say, did you just subtweet Evan, the editor?
I did
who
subtweet
has
Evan.
Like 25?
That is who I'm specific. I wrote out a tweet to respond to him, and I was like, nah, I ain't got time.
Teammates! Friends! To hell with that!
But let's use this as a segue. Like you said, we don't know when it's coming out, how much it's gonna cost, and we just had Gamescom opening night live. The Geoffs, because if the Game Awards are the Keighleys, these are the Geoffs. And I went back and looked at Gamescom 2013, so just before, a couple months before the PS4 and Xbox One came out. Look at what we knew about those consoles at Gamescom 2013. So in terms of PlayStation, we knew the release date, November 15th, a couple weeks later in Europe and other territories, that Sony had promised 33 games before December 31st, but we didn't know the exact launch lineup. They'd clarified that PS3 to PS4 upgrades would be significantly discounted, color options for DualShock, and price cuts on a Vita and a $199 12GB PS3 model. Xbox had revealed its entire launch lineup, 23 games, but they didn't have a launch date, but they did announce that a few days after Gamescom was finished. They showed off the Xbox One dashboard, which I guess we kind of do have with the Series X. There was obviously hands-on with both consoles, and they also unveiled ID at Xbox. And Jordan, I'm going to come to you first. Was this Gamescom very Gamescom-y? It didn't feel like a next-gen Gamescom.
Like, it's weird to think that at least for Series X, we know that it's coming in November, which is, what, 2 months away? 3 months away? Yeah. And it's like, nothing for Series X. And, like, we got to see 12 Minutes, which looks like a cool game. They have a lot of star talent, like, going to that, which was super surprising. But, like, there was nothing at Gamescom that just, like, drew my attention. That was like, you want to buy this game, and the best way to play this game is on Xbox Series X, which is coming out in whatever date
on this
it's
day,
actually
and it'll
coming
cost
out.
you this much. I mean, there was that Game Pass trailer, again reaffirming the best deal in gaming, but like at the same time, I have Game Pass right now.
It's nothing. It's nothing. Like I didn't see anything on the Xbox side that was like very next gen.
It's so strange. Like, Tam, what do you think from a PlayStation side? Because PlayStation Gamescom 2013, they went all out.
Yeah, I think from a, broadly speaking, for both PlayStation and Microsoft, the tricky thing right now is the state of the world that we live in, right? So you imagine that's got to play a huge factor because of COVID, manufacturing, delivery, that kind of stuff. There's probably a mindset of let's wait until the absolute latest we can do. For PlayStation specifically, I think there was more of a cause and a reason or impetus to give out as much information as early as possible in 2013. Because if you think back, PlayStation was coming off, being on the back foot because of PlayStation 3, and they had just scored a major win. The PR kind of cycle, the marketing momentum was in their favor after the reveal. The PlayStation had earned a lot of positive mind share because of the no sharing, no always online, whereas Microsoft had kind of fumbled the launch or the reveal.
Fumbled.
Oh man, they were like me trying to play football as a goalkeeper back in my teenage years, letting every goal in. So they had the momentum, and it felt like a good time to strike and keep on striking. So they were on the offense the entire year. So outside of E3, the next major beat was Gamescom, and given the momentum they built up, it made perfect sense to give everyone the information that they, that would guarantee their purchasing decision hot off their success and hot off Microsoft's stumble. So that's why they had that. Now they're kind of more in a closer to market leader position where they don't have as much reason to do that. They can effectively ride the momentum of the PlayStation 4 success and take a more casual approach to it, which isn't necessarily the best idea or the most consumer friendly idea, and it could still potentially backfire in their face if they're not careful, because Microsoft is doing a lot with Game Pass and saying that they've got the most powerful console, whereas Sony seems to be taking a bit more chill. It will probably be fine, but I think that's a big reason why we don't have as much meat on the PlayStation 5 bones right now. But I think everyone is kind of reaching the end of their tether with this, kind of holding their cards close to their chest for both sides.
It does make you wonder if stuff isn't going on behind the scenes and something might slip and it's just a game of chicken to see who's gonna go first. That would be like obviously worst case scenario. Obviously there are way bigger things to think about that's going on in the world right now, but it feels weird. I mean, 2020 has just been a weird year all around, but in terms of a new console launch, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I don't think anything, at least for Sony's situation, I don't know if anything will slip, given that they've put up this pre-order page. To put it up and then delay it would be a bit of a PR nightmare for them. But then at the same time, they could say, oh, we've got a bunch of people who are guaranteed to get it whenever it does come out. We're going to open it up more widely so you can order directly from us. We're going to select more people. But I'd be very surprised if that console slips. Same for Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm just forever a slight pessimist, just in case. Set your expectations slightly lower, you're never disappointed. So that was all the big news from Gamescom. Hopefully we get answers to some of those questions. But while we wait, it's time to talk to our techspert about what monitors and TVs you should be looking out for if you wanted to upgrade before next gen. Yeah, that's right. We still don't know when the new consoles are coming out, unless they announce it while we're recording this, which, after what happened with Call of Duty last week, wouldn't put it past Sony or Microsoft. For context, we don't know anything. I assume there's a new card this year. They are teasing the crap out of stuff, sending people packages. We're recording this before anything has been announced.
Meanwhile.
But anyway, the least we can do while we're getting excited for new consoles is to prepare how we're going to enjoy them. That's right, upgrade monitors and TVs. And honestly, you guys have been asking for this. That's right, we do read the comments. So you've asked, and we're going to answer. And when I say we're going to answer, what I mean is actually we've brought in someone way more qualified, GameSpot's resident techspert, Michael Hine.
Hi, damn, Techspert that's some big shoes to fill. I know that was my initial role when I came to GameSpot, but I do like to keep up with tech a little bit because, you know, it's still interesting, still fascinating, always evolving. But yeah, I'm excited to join y'all because I miss doing things with my friends Lucy and Tam, but it's good to be here on Generation Next.
Oh, we miss you too, bud. This year has been so weird. Remember The Office?
Damn.
It's a good TV show. I prefer the UK one.
Wow.
Well. How the turntables.
All right, let's get into the meat of it. Michael, let's say I'm in the market for a brand new TV to enjoy my PS5 or Series X on. What should I be looking for? What are the bullet points, my checklist as I'm going into, perusing Best Buy's website or something?
Sure, yes. The basics is that 4K, obviously. I think that nowadays the 4K is the standard, so any basic TV that you're going to find on sale or whatever on Best Buy that's going to be like the featured TVs that you're going to get, they're all going to be 4K. I think this was more the case a couple years back, but it was there were some TVs that were 4K non-HDR. But I think HDR is a very important feature to have on your TV because games will be taking advantage of it more and more as we go into the next generation. Now, HDR, if you're not familiar, is that it widens the color gamut, so the dark parts of your screen will look extra rich, the colors will look extra rich, the difference between white and black in the color scheme is going to look a lot more realistic. So that's fairly standard now, but just double check to make sure that if you're buying a 4K TV, especially if you're going budget level, just double check to make sure that TV has HDR as well. There are also different specs to HDR, but I think that at the low price range, as long as it has it, you'll get some sort of advantage visually when you plug in your new console, whatever, and take advantage of that feature. So another thing that you should probably be aware of that isn't necessarily advertised straight up when you look at TV specs is latency. And that's obviously important because you don't want to, have your inputs be lagging behind when you're actually trying to do them. Most TVs are fine with that, but when you go cheaper, the latency tends to be it can be bad. Sometimes there's ghosting, but just do that little extra step. And if you're eyeing a particular model of a TV, just do a little extra research and look into what the response time and what the latency is. I think around 20-25 milliseconds is fine, but anything higher than that, you may want to think twice about it.
Michael,
Yo.
I need you to talk dirty to me. Tell me about refresh rates.
Ooh, refresh rates, yeah. So if you're looking at a TV and you're spending a lot more, you definitely want to at least get something that's 120 hertz refresh rate. What this means is that the TV can display up to 120 FPS. Now, why that matters now is because PS5 and Xbox Series X are kind of flexing in the fact that they can do 4K 120 hertz. That obviously depends on the content. Not very few things are going to be able to take advantage of that. That's obviously on the higher end. So if you are going to spend a little bit more, definitely make sure you got that as well.
So we talked about what to look for. What should I be? What do I want to avoid?
Sure, yeah. In terms of when you go higher in price range, I think that you should probably avoid LED displays. Not that they're bad, but if you're spending upwards of $1,000, you definitely want to get an OLED display. OLED displays show much richer colors. The picture quality is much better than LEDs or LED displays. But they do tend to be more expensive. So again, if you're in that price range of $1,000, $1,500, definitely look into some good OLED displays. There's also things like once you go into the higher range, you want to make sure that has, or any TV actually, has like a good game mode which kind of cuts down on post-processing in the TV and then allows your TV to actually be more responsive. So look into the options there and see how that affects your TV experience, or how that would affect your TV experience. And another thing too is when you get into the higher refresh rate stuff, if you are going to get 120 hertz display, make sure it has variable refresh rate integrated in it, because the consoles, the Series X and the PS5, are also going to have FreeSync, which means if the frames drop, you won't experience screen tearing. And that's it's a really nice feature to have. I don't know to what extent, obviously, because it depends on how these games are going to perform, if they're even going to take advantage of those high frame rates. But if they do, you want to make sure that you at least have that feature in that TV that you invest in.
But let's say that I'm going rogue and I don't want a TV and I want a monitor.
Well, monitors are also, there's a whole lot of options there. I'm actually more familiar with them because I am a PC gamer. But if you are going to use your console for at a desktop, I guess, and use a monitor, I think the main thing that you need to keep in mind is that most budget-friendly monitors are not HDR. So you may find a good 4K monitor, a good size 4K monitor. It's a decent price, but chances are it won't have HDR. And I think that's really important for console games, because that's going to become, or is pretty standard, even with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. HDR is kind of like this wild thing that some people say is even more effective than the jump from 1080p to 4K. Of course, it depends on who you ask. But if you're going to invest in a new display for your consoles, you need HDR, and that's a little bit harder to come by in computer monitors. But also, I think that response time is also really important for PC gaming. I think it's less of an issue with monitors as it is with TVs, because monitors are meant for the desktop PC experience, and PC games can go up to 144 hertz, 240 hertz, depending on your specs. So that's something to keep in mind, but I don't think that you need to necessarily, it's not going to be hard to find something that takes advantage of that. So you'll be able to find a 4K 120 hertz monitor if you want to go that route, but expect to spend a lot of money if you also want to get HDR.
If Jeff Bezos rolls up and is like, you need to get this HDMI cable that's $50 and is plated in gold, should I believe him, or should I just get the $10 one? Is there any difference between a high-end and low-end price-wise HDMI cable?
If Jeff Bezos roll up, man, it's on site with him.
Yeah.
But if he's trying to sell you an HDMI cable, any old HDMI cable should work fine. The one thing I will say that you need to keep in mind is that if you are going up to 4K and you have a 120 hertz display or television, you want to get an HDMI 2.1 cable to make sure that you can take advantage of that. So that's the new HDMI spec. I think that, if I recall correctly, basic HDMI cables like 2.0B can do 4K 60, but I don't think they can do 4K 120 hertz. And that's why you want to make sure that you have an HDMI 2.1 cable, so you can take advantage of that when the opportunity arises. But again, those are going to be fairly rare cases, at least in the near future. But if you're going to spend the money, make sure you're prepared.
Bonus tip: get a sound bar.
Ooh, that's another thing too. Is don't rely on TV speakers. TV speakers are never good. They might be okay, but if you're playing an Xbox Series X or a PS5 game and you're relying on TV speakers, you are missing out on half the experience.
Soundbars are really cheap now, and I've only just gotten one for the first time, and I'm impressed at how good they are. They're relatively cheap as well. So, my one, not that we're sponsored anyway, is a Vizio, and it's real good.
Tam and I have the exact same TV and soundbar setup, so I can definitely vouch for that soundbar.
Hey, that's a pro tip right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us and teaching us scrubs about monitors and TVs, because honestly, I just kind of go and look at what's on sale, but now I actually know what to look out for. Mm-hmm. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jordan and Tam, for joining me, and Michael, of course, to talk about Next Gen. We'll be back again next Friday. Tam, in the meantime, where can people find you?
You can find me on a retailer searching for a new TV, even though I really don't need one, but, if you're going to spend money, you might as well spend all of it and be impoverished. And I'm on Twitter at Tamoor
no
H.
Twitch shout.
Damn. I'm on Twitter at Tamoor H. Hit me up for bad tweets.
Jordan, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at JMRemay, desperately trying to figure out what events we have left to announce a release date for Silk Song.
Oh, one day, man. It'll come.
has
And I'm on Twitter at Lucy James Games, posting pictures of my forearm because I got really excited about the Dragon Age teaser.
Oh, that
See you
was your
next time.
forearm. It
What
just
do
looked
you
like a
think
What did
really.
you think it was?
It just looked like a really white beam of light.
All right, we'll see you next week.